Okay, hello everybody. It is Tuesday, November 9th to the Brigade Community Meeting. So we are recording and posting this later to YouTube. And on today's agenda, we are going to be talking about the upcoming V2 release. We have a checklist that we're going to be going over of items that need to be completed in order to release V2. So we are pretty much done with development. So these are all chores, really, when it comes down to it. So I'm going to share my screen and we will pull up the release checklist. So
it's rather small, by the way.
Oh, sure, we can fix that.
A little bit bigger.
Is that better?
Sure. It's only taking up about half of the considerable screen real estate. Perhaps it doesn't show you that, but that's fine.
The issues with having a oh, here's Karen. The issues with having a large monitor, unfortunately. Thanks. All right, can you read it well enough now?
Sure.
Okay. So we do have, as I said, quite a considerable number of chores that have to get done. So in order to cut the release candidate, we first need to release V2 Beta 4. I believe we're going to be doing that today, unless Vaughn has any reservations about it. So I believe we'll be doing that today. We do have to test and release V142 or 150 and all the charts that go with them before we do the V2 release. This was Bridget's wonderful idea that we really want 2.0 to be the most recent thing on the top of the releases page. We don't want to release 2.0 and then have its thunder stolen by, you know, a lesser thing such as 142 or 150. So once the last beta and possibly even the release candidate are out, we need to hit pause on the V2 activity and get that potentially last version of 1X out the door. We do still have to establish some kind of maintenance window or sunset plan for V1X. I think that Helm did, I think, 6 months. And it was basically, you know, bug fixes and security related updates, but active development on Helm 2, I believe, stopped as soon as Helm 3 was released. So we'll work on it strictly on an as needed basis, but we will publish that plan somewhere. The most reasonable place would seem to be the Brigade blog. So we do have to resolve all issues that were labeled as RC blockers. That's actually done. We need to cut new version of the Brigade SDK for JavaScript. That has to be transitioned to use the stable APIs ahead of the Brigade RC release, because certain components of Brigade depend on certain components of the Brigade SDK for JS. So that has to be released first. I'm going to skip over some of these because some of these are like way too nitty gritty and don't need to really be discussed in depth here. Let's see, we do need to then eventually, after beta 4 has marinated for a little while, we will cut the RC1. The only changes between the last beta and RC should be the transition from using the beta APIs to using the stable APIs. So that's really all that should be changing. We'll of course update examples to use RC1 and the stable APIs. All the examples currently use the beta APIs. We'll update all the gateways and other peripherals to also use stable APIs, the latest version of the SDK, etc. And we'll obviously blog about the release candidate, try to have some good publicity before we actually go GA. There's a lot of repository maintenance that has to happen. And this in particular is where I need feedback from Vaughn, Bridget, whoever. So Brigade still has a master branch. I know we're getting away from master branches and moving towards using main branches. We've already addressed that with all of our repositories, save for the main Brigade repository. And that's because there's a lot of moving things around that has to happen there. So all V2 development work has occurred in a V2 branch. We would like that to become the mainline development branch. So what I've written down here is that master needs to be renamed to V1 and that V2 needs to be renamed to main. Now, I'm going to quote that. It's quote unquote renamed. What may actually need to happen, the correct thing to do is probably merge V2 into master, rename that to main, and fork. Well, actually, we should fork a V1 branch off of master as it currently exists. That would be the right thing to do to ensure that, anybody who currently has, master checked out can, successfully fast forward to the current state of the mainline development branch. Now, the thing that gives me pause about all of that is that's going to be an absolutely enormous merge. And it would probably be tens of thousands of lines. And I'm not going to PR that, and nobody's going to review such a PR. So I'm almost thinking that if that's the approach that we want to take, where V2 gets merged into master, I think Vaughn and I should probably just hop on together. So there's two sets of eyes on it, making sure there's no mistakes, making sure that there is, nothing unseemly that goes on. And together we will just do that merge manually, rather than craft a PR that nobody will ever look at. So, just have checks and balances. We'll hop on and do it together. I still think this is a couple weeks out. It's going to be post RC that will do all of the rearranging of branches and such. Similarly, we have some other switcheroos that have to occur with the documentation site and the main website. So today, if you go to docs.brigade.sh, it shows you V1 docs, and I believe there's a prominent link up at the top in like a banner that says, hey, our V2 docs are over here. Well, that needs to switch around once V2 goes GA. So it should default to the V2 docs with a prominent link that says, hey, if you're looking for the V1 docs, they're over here. There's also a brand refresh underway for the website that is currently incomplete. Vaughn and I talked with Ronan this morning about getting that done, and it seems like he's going to have some time on Friday to work on that.
Quick question, Kent.
Yeah.
For that first docs bullet, V2 docs becoming the main, we should just get that once we do the branch switch up and then modify the netlify config, right? Or
that's a fair point. That might just happen automatically as a consequence of the branches moving around and whatnot.
Yeah, with the detail of creating a special V1 kind of URL Netlify build
Mhm.
off the V1 branch. But
Oh, right.
anyway.
Right. Yeah. So you're right. So half of it will just happen automatically when we get the branches straightened out, and the other half, we'll take care of. This is also a good segue. Good time to mention, since Vaughn mentioned Netlify, that prior to yesterday, all of our static websites were hosted by the Deus Labs / Steel Thread Netlify account. And as of yesterday, we've gotten those moved over to the CNCF Netlify Enterprise account. Vaughn and Ronan and I all have permissions on there, so we can still do everything that we could do with those sites before. It's the docs, the static website, and the what am I missing? The blog. So we can still do all the things that we used to do, but it's now under the CNCF account. If anybody else wants access to that, Bridget or Karen, let me know and I'll put in a request to the service desk.
Not sure how granular the permissions are. Like, I have access to that CNCF account, and it sort of looks like I can see a lot of stuff that is not even related to the projects I work on. So I haven't tried to
Yes.
change any of it, but I may actually have access already. As may a lot of people.
Yeah, there is a way of managing permissions for specific sites. And apparently, I think this was an oversight. They gave me more permissions than that. And so I'm an owner of all sites. So maybe I'll open up a service desk ticket about that also and say, hey, you gave me too much stuff. Yeah. So that's pretty much the size of it here. There's another section here, the GA section. It's really just a repetition of some of what we saw above. Some of the machinations that we have to jump through to get RC out the door have to be repeated when we retag this thing as GA. So that's pretty much it. This is our checklist. And I pinned this at the top of the issues so that we can all find it pretty easily. I think this checklist is going to be pretty important for keeping us on track with all of these little chores over the next week or two. That's really apart from Netlify, apart from the Netlify changes, that's all I really had to discuss. I did want to mention the new YouTube channel that we have. If you are a community member and you are watching this, you've probably already found the YouTube channel because that's where this video will be living. So yeah, we've got the YouTube channel, and the only other thing that I had put on the agenda I wanted to discuss, we do have a need for additional maintainers or even just reviewers, people who, from the community who are willing to look at PRs, even if they only look at the smallest ones and the most trivial ones. It's still helpful to have people, looking at those things to keep things moving along. Vaughn, for instance, is really the only maintainer other than me that's especially active lately, and he does a lot of code reviews. Really appreciate that, but he also has other fish to fry right now and other things that he needs to be focusing on. So I really do want to try to find ways to take some of the pressure off of him and let the community help out more, especially, as I said, with very small or trivial issues. That being said, it has been tricky or difficult for us to get more community participation from a development or code review perspective. So if anybody is watching this, consider this your invitation. We would love your help in whatever ways you are able to contribute. It doesn't have to be writing code. It can be reviews, it can be docs, it can be whatever. We need help, and we thank you in advance. And it's a good opportunity to work towards becoming a maintainer of a CNCF project, which is, you know, a good thing to have on your CV. If anybody has suggestions about how to go about recruiting help, or how to mitigate the lack of help, those suggestions are quite welcome.
I have two questions.
Sure.
First one is going back to like YouTube. Currently, the calls are in your personal Zoom, and I had asked Amy about it, but she said that you're already running them on Zoom. But I think we need CNCF to host it in order to do the integrations, right? To like get these all ported to YouTube.
So I have permissions on the YouTube channel to upload videos.
Do you want to do that from your personal account, or I personally think we should have CNCF kind of set up some framework for us, just so it's not tied to your specific account. Because like, what if you can't make a call one of these days because you're sick or whatever? Like, I think we should, yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree that we shouldn't be using my personal Zoom account for this. And last I heard from Amy, they had not lost track of this, and I don't know what the holdup was, but she said that they're working on it.
Okay, yeah, I responded to the last ticket I submitted, and then like I gave Amy the agenda for our call and everything, but she said you had like, because I was like, oh yeah, like we don't want to do Bevy, we want to do Zoom because like we're already there, and she said that you had it set up, but I don't know if she realized that that was your personal account. So I will follow up on that.
Okay.
And then the second thing about like getting reviewers, is this something that we can reach out to? Like, do we have any known Brigade users that are like from companies that we can reach out to?
Yeah, I don't know. We can look into that. I don't know how to track that information down at the moment, because the community is not really, unfortunately, hasn't been interacting with us very much. If you go and look at the Brigade channel in Slack, it's all like Vaughn, myself, Carolyn, you know, like the yeah, it's like shouting into the void sometimes. But you know, and I understand it too. You know, as I've said a number of times, I think especially with the pandemic and everything, I think a lot of people are stretched to the limit. I think we all feel that way. And, you know, contributing to open source projects when you have other things going on, bigger things going on, it's not a good time for everybody right now. So I certainly understand the lack of engagement, but I'm really doing my best to figure out how to get the community more engaged. And, you know, absolutely open to any and all suggestions on that front. I think we probably have to get the community more. It's a what do you call it? It's a paradox here, right? Like, to get the community, you know, to get more involvement from the community, we probably have to track down some companies that are using Brigade. To find the companies that are using Brigade, we probably need to get that answer from the community. So it's a vicious cycle.
We had a list of companies using at least V1 Brigade, and that was attached. It might even have been updated to the last annual review for Brigade as a sandbox.
I should be able to track that down.
Okay, yeah, we can take a look there.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I would absolutely, I'll reach out to some of those people if I can track that down.
I'll look for that document.
I should also note we do have somebody who has come onto our radar recently. The name is escaping me at the moment, but he's a computer science student in India, and I believe he was encouraged for the sake of some of his coursework to find some interesting open source projects and contribute. And he has already made a few modest contributions, and he has mentioned a willingness to do more. So I think he's currently on vacation, but he said that when he's back, he'd like to tackle some more of the things that are labeled as good first issue. So that is encouraging, at least. Being a student, I don't know whether he'll be able to allocate the kind of time that we would need from him to, convert him to a maintainer, but, we'll certainly do everything we can to help this individual get started as a contributor, and maybe get him reviewing some of the smaller, more trivial PRs as well.
So I don't quite remember what the timelines for these things are, but I mean, CNCF does kind of I know in the summer they do the internship thing with Google Summer of Code.
That's right.
I think they do. I feel like they must do them off the summer cycle as well. So we could try looking into that and getting more involved with that, especially to get student engagement and things like that. Because I feel like jumping into Brigade is probably less intimidating than jumping into Kubernetes and things like that. Yeah, that might be another good route. It might not be anytime relatively soon, but worth the investment down the line.
Yeah, and the thing about jumping into Kubernetes as well, this is worth noting, and I don't know if I had said this already on the previous call or not, but this person who's been helping us out a little bit had no prior Kubernetes experience, and he was able to follow the quick start and set up Brigade on a kind cluster and then make contributions to Brigade. This is somebody who'd never used Kubernetes before. So the thing that I think is really cool about that is it was a goal for V2 to have a really clean abstraction over Kubernetes, and the fact that this guy was able to come up to speed quickly on Brigade without ever having used Kubernetes before, I think is a little bit of an indicator that we did something right. So I
Can
feel
we
good
have
about
him
that.
guest blog or something?
What's that? Guest
Can
blog?
we have him guest blog or something?
Yeah, I'll talk to him about it. I haven't seen him online in a couple of days. Like I said, I think he's on vacation right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll talk to him about that.
How did he find out about Brigade?
There was some public list that he found of projects that needed help and had things labeled as good first issue or whatever. I can't remember. I'll find it. He sent me the link. I don't know how we ended up on that list, to be honest, but that's how he found us. So yeah.
Yeah, we should, sorry, I was taking notes. We should find out what that, more details on that list, because that sounds super helpful. If it just because you're already in a great habit, Kent, and I'm trying to do the same of labeling issues like good first issue or chore PRs, kind of trying to attract reviews. But so yeah, however we can bubble those up to whatever kind of OSS list that contribute.
Yeah, I try to advertise those issues as well. You know, it's occurring to me right now that actually it would be a really good use for Brigade itself to, you know, have a little script that goes and finds everything that's labeled as like chore or good first issue or whatever on, you know, like a nightly basis, and then blast it out to Slack. Although, oh, actually, that might not work because I don't think we can get like a bot account for the CNCF Slack. Well, I will ask. I will put in a request to the service desk to see if there's any way at all that we could get some kind of service account for their Slack. I know when I previously had attempted to install an app to like do some slash commands and stuff, I got my hand slapped.
Was that for the CNCF Slack or Kubernetes? 'Cause I know they're really strict for the Kubernetes Slack.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was the Kubernetes Slack. Okay. So, well, our Brigade channel is in the Kubernetes Slack. Is that the right home for it? Should it be in the CNCF Slack instead? I don't know.
I think the audience in the Kubernetes Slack is a lot bigger. Not
Yeah.
saying it's necessarily like the best place actually in concept, but functionally, yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think there's probably more eyes on it where it currently is. Yeah, it's just unfortunate that we might not be able to pursue certain automation options there. But I will see. I will investigate and see what we can do, because that would kill a few birds with one stone, right? It would actually be a really neat demo for Brigade to show, you know, like I could whip up a little cron gateway or something that just like triggers an event nightly and you know, compels a job to go and scan for good first issues and publish them somewhere.
Yeah, I really like that idea. That's all. I was writing down notes on that.
All right, well, I don't have anything else. I know as soon as we hang up, I'll think of something, but I'll toss it in the Slack channel if I do.
Okay, cool.
All
Thank
right,
you.
well, thank you, everybody. And I'm going to stop the recording. I'll see you on the internet.
Until next time. Bye.